Hello viewers, today we're going to be setting up the computer room tree, and we'll put some lights in here as well. There is a box of LED lights in the frame. We'll get to those in a little while. First we'll start with the tree. I did not use this tree last year. This is a General Electric tree. And I guess it's a Lowe's product. It is the General Electric item number 007685 tree. It is an energy smart tree. It's 7 feet, pre-lit, just cut, slim grand fir with LED C3 lights. They're constant on. 5-year limited guarantee on lights and tree. 20,000 hour average DEL life with 363 C3 DELs, and they're allegedly replaceable, which I believe is true. This, I want to say, is from 2011, because that would have been right around the time that we had the DEL blowout at the old location, which required everything to be changed to DEL. And that's also why we're going to put in this box of lights. These are the C9 holiday time multicolor lights. And even though I don't particularly like those, there's a bit of a nostalgia to them, because the year of the DEL blowout, I got very sick. I had pneumonia, and it was a big fiasco. I missed out on the family's Thanksgiving gathering, and missed out a bunch of, I want to say, maybe even 2 to 3 weeks of school. I was in high school at the time, and the timing, of course, was right around when I would normally start putting out the Christmas lights. And that year we were supposed to go get all new DEL lights, which was kind of a big deal at the time because they were still extremely expensive and fairly new. But I guess it was 2010's light bill was so out of control that it was decided we needed to get all new lights. So we were supposed to go to the store and get all these new lights, and I was laid up in bed and I couldn't do that. But what I can do right now is drop staples on the floor. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Well, I guess I'm going to go put some shoes on now, because there's potentially staples all over the floor. Never can we get a dull moment around here. Anyways, as I was saying, we were supposed to go around and get these new, I was supposed to go with my mother to pick out these new DEL lights, and I couldn't do it because I was laid up in bed. And so then my mother had gone out to the store, and she had got a bunch of the DEL lights to try. And so I was sitting there dying in the bed, and she was stringing them up on the walls and whatever. And, it was a good memory from a crummy time. So I have some nostalgia to these DEL lights, even though I really don't particularly like them all that much. And I used these DEL lights for several years into the early 2010s, and I have some photographs of my setups from that time period. Didn't have a whole lot of stuff because the lights were expensive, but the first couple of setups, nice clean looking setups, even though, and I think my biggest issue with these DEL lights is that they're not a replacement, in my opinion, for for the old incandescent ones because they don't look the same. But it was a nice setup. And I was in high school at the time, early 2010s, and that was a really good time in my life. I have a lot of fond memories from those years. And since these were the Christmas lights that I used at that time, they bring back some good memories. So we'll put a string of that in here. I think that's one of the only remaining strings, which is kind of pathetic because those were only used indoors and they were taken good care of. You know, I always put them back in the box and everything at the end of the year. The outside lights I can understand going out because they're in the wind, the rain, the sun. They take a beating getting put up and everything. But for the lights to go out when they're just used indoors, it's kind of pathetic to me. But that's what happened. So I don't have many of those strings left, and they started going out at the time, just a couple years after we got them. So I slowly went back to using the incandescent ones anyways because they actually worked. But so that's the story behind the DEO lights. Now this tree, I believe we also got it out in 2011 as part of that whole DEO debacle. And this has been a pretty good tree. It's not as good as an incandescent tree would be, but it looks pretty nice, especially considering how old it is. It seems like only in the last couple years have at least the better sets of the DEO Christmas lights started to look a little bit better. This one has a little bit of flickeriness to it, but at least the coloring of the bulbs is a pretty reasonable white. Not real cold or anything crazy like that. You know, it's okay. And it's been pretty reliable. I've used this every year since I got it, which I believe was in 2011, except for last year. I didn't set it up last year anywhere, and I kind of missed it. So I'm going to set it up in here this year. I don't use this room too often because it's cold in the winter, so I don't use it too often in the winter. But I could always just turn the heat on. This is a 7.5 foot tree, so it goes almost all the way to the ceiling. I somehow have managed to keep these original straps around for over a decade, so we'll staple those back on, I guess, keep those going. Put this out in the hallway for the moment. But before I put the tree there, I want to put that string of C9 DELs over the window. Get the ceiling fan in the frame here. A little messy in here. This has just been my junk room until I finish the decorating. Let's see if these even work. Now see, they're in here very nicely. I put them away very gently, and yet they still break. I just don't get it. Let's see, are they going to work? I really don't know. Huh, they work. Should be, I think it should be long enough to go across the window. Put the tack on the top, not on the tack, just like one of these tacks. Hold these lights up. And in fact, this room is actually out of electricity because I already have one circuit, or one, I think it's a 10 amp feed going to the outside lights. So this is one of those situations where it just kind of works out to use these for a lower draw, even though they don't look quite as nice as the old incandescent C9s do. They're better than nothing, I guess. Okay, it's not quite even. It might change as the lights stretch out from being out of the box. Okay, now let's see if the tree works. I've had some issues with this in the last year or two that I used it. Some of the lights were going out, and when you replace the bulb, it still doesn't work. It's not the bulb going out, it's the socket doesn't work. Hopefully there's not too many of them. I don't know if that problem is spreading or not. Okay, that's working, except for a couple pieces on the back there. This is what I was talking about. Some of these, some of these just don't work, and there's really no explanation for why. Because if I take a working one and a broken one, put the allegedly broken one into the other socket, it works. And then I take this one here that was working and put it in here, and it doesn't work. And actually, this one just went out, and this is kind of like being flaky. So I wonder if this, to me, this is like some kind of a connection issue. When it's flickering over here, kind of on and off. Oh, these just come back. See, this has got to be a connection issue. I got a whole branch up in here, so this issue is spreading. This is definitely spreading. Not horrifically, but it is spreading. I can just put this to the back of the wall, I guess. It's not too big of a deal. I got two couple parts of this. See, I don't know if these are wired in series or not. It's kind of hard to tell. It's not like low voltage or something, because you can plug there's an adapter at the top, just a regular plug-in to put a star, and you can put any incandescent string you want and it works. So I don't quite know how the circuitry works, and this is starting to get quite a few. We got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, about 10 bulbs out down here. And I think we'll just turn that side to the wall once I've got the branches spread out. That's kind of disappointing, because like the other strings, this has always been taken good care of. It was always put in the box nicely after every year and never tossed around or anything, but it still breaks. I don't know. And with this LED stuff, I don't know how to fix it, because I don't know how it works. And there's no, there is a Light Keeper Pro version from the LEDs, but it's not magic like the incandescent one is. The incandescent one is absolutely phenomenal, but the LED one is kind of not useless, but it's not anywhere near as good as the incandescent one is. I think the way it works is you have to actually puncture the wires in multiple spots with some kind of a clip type thing, and then you plug the string in, like the plug-in goes into the light keeper, and then it's supposed to illuminate when you puncture through the wire in different places. is supposed to illuminate that up to where you puncture it, providing that the circuit is good. And I guess that you're supposed to use that information to determine where the problem is. But I don't know, it doesn't seem like a good idea if you're going to use the lights outside, because you'll get, who knows what the water will do to the copper if it gets wet from the hole and everything. So I tried to use it a couple times and just didn't really have great results with it, not worth the time. Most of the LED strings I have are not worth fixing, like the cheesy ones I got outside. Although this tree, seeing that this is one of the original pieces still, this tree is actually something I would try to repair. So maybe I will revisit it, I don't know. As long as it doesn't spread rapidly, we'll be okay, because I can just put that one side towards the wall and it won't be obvious that it's busted. Although what I don't know is how the outage of those DELs affects the other ones on the string, in the sense that, like, does the voltage go up? That would be a problem if it does, but I don't know. I imagine that there are no replacement bulbs available for this. There probably haven't been for years. Being this is over a decade old. At one point you probably could buy replacements, but unlikely at this point. Which is a shame, because it's a nice tree. It still seems to be holding all the needles good. Never stored this in the attic. It was always kept in the basement, so it was never exposed to extreme heat or anything like that. So it just has no reasons to be failing, and yet it's failing. It wasn't cheap either. I think it was a couple $100. That was back in 2011. I could inflate that quite a bit to beat today's prices. It's a nice realistic tree too. A lot of these branch tips are the molded plastic type thing. And it's just the cheap paper thing on the inside is filler. Actually really quite a nice tree. I like it a lot. Bulb out here, and it's the same thing. It's not the bulb that's bad, it's the socket's not getting the right power to it, which I don't understand. Oh boy, this is out too. Alright, this actually has quite a few segments that are out. Now, if I recall correctly, there was something weird about the way this plugs in. I think the top of it has to go down to the bottom as well. I don't exactly remember. It's been some time since I've used this. But let's see if we can confirm that before I go through all the branches. No, there's an opening up here. I should be able to take the top. I guess I'm just recalling it incorrectly. There's this here, but then there's also a plug-in right. Oh, this is, that's kind of weird. That's not usable. There's a plug-in down here, which I'll use for this, and then, I don't know, I'm not remembering anymore, I guess. I thought that top plug-in was for the star. I know I've used a star on this tree before. Oh, looks like most of the top is, or the middle section is working at least. That's good. This doesn't have enough slack to go down that far, so this must have, I don't know. I don't know what I'm thinking of. Must be remembering something inaccurately. Looks like the top is mostly working. That's good. Actually, it seems like the problem is almost exclusively isolated to the bottom, which is kind of weird. I don't know if that fits in the box the most tightest. I guess that would kind of make sense, but I don't know. I suppose the first thing I should do is get the voltmeter out and see if there's any voltage across those contacts in the affected sockets. Now, there's a bulb actually completely missing from this branch over here, and everything around it is still on, so I don't know if it's wired in series or not. I would think it would have to be to reduce the voltage. I don't know. I don't know enough about how these LED strings work. Part of me just doesn't really care. This is the first application where I really wanted to fix something that's DEL, so now I need the information. And I don't know if that information is even attainable, because chances are these are all different. You know, there's a good chance that this tree is wired different than the cheesy $10 strings are. So, who knows? Can't even really see those out segments anymore. It's over here. I'll just turn it to the back side so that it faces the wall. Well, now that's front and center. That's got that's more obvious than the stuff on the bottom. Alright, that should be good. There's two out there, but it's going to be whatever it is. And this is really a nice tree. I really like this tree. It's so full and realistic. I remember when these first started coming out, these ones with the plastic molded branches. They're really impressive. Ah! it's dusty. But at a quick glance, I mean, you really can't tell that it's not a real tree. It looks so real. It's perfect shape, so I guess that would be that might be the giveaway, but it really looks quite nice. All right, so that's that. That's all set up, and it's a nice little throwback to Christmas 2011, Christmas 2012. Definitely some good times.